Admiral Corina Santos stood at the observation deck of the U.S. Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space exploration vessel. At nearly 3 kilometers long, the Horizon represented humanity's greatest achievement in space engineering. Its massive hull gleamed under distant starlight, housing enough scientific equipment to outfit a small research planet and defensive systems that could withstand nearly any natural space phenomenon. Admiral, Lieutenant Rashid's voice came through the comm system. We're detecting unusual energy signatures at the edge of the Centauri sector. Classification, Santos asked, already moving toward the bridge. After 20 years in deep space exploration, she learned that unusual usually meant interesting. Nothing in our database, ma'am. But it's organized. Definitely artificial. The bridge hummed with quiet efficiency as Santos entered. The massive view screen showed normal space, but the sensor displays told a different story. Multiple small vessels, moving in perfect formation. First contact protocol, Santos ordered, her voice steady despite the excitement building in her chest. Power down all active scanning systems, passive sensors only. Her crew responded with practiced precision. The Horizon's powerful scanning arrays, capable of analyzing a planet's core from orbit, fell silent. They'd learned early in their exploration mission that active scans could appear threatening to some species. Energy spike from the unknown vessels. Tactical Officer James Wong reported. They're scattering. On the view screen, a group of sleek, crystalline ships appeared, their hulls seeming to shift color like soap bubbles in sunlight. The moment they detected the Horizon, they broke formation, moving with incredible grace and speed. They're afraid, Lieutenant Commander Natalia Volkov said from her science station. Those movement patterns, it's like watching a school of fish scatter from a predator. Santos understood immediately. The Horizon, with its massive black hull and imposing profile, must look terrifying to a species that built such delicate-looking vessels. Open all frequencies, she ordered. Let's try to calm them down before. Admiral, Wong's voice rose sharply. The alien vessels are generating some kind of energy field. It's unlike anything we've seen before, almost organic in nature. The crystalline ships had regrouped at a safe distance, their hulls now pulsing with waves of bioluminescence. Complex patterns of light rippled across their surfaces, creating mesmerizing displays. They're communicating, Volkov realized, her fingers flying across her console. The light patterns, they're a language. And look at these readings. Their ships aren't just mechanical, they're partially biological. Santos watched the beautiful display, understanding dawning. They're not just ships with biological components, she said quietly. They're grown, aren't they? Like coral or shells. Exactly, Volkov confirmed. Their entire approach to space travel appears to be based on organic engineering rather than mechanical. No wonder they were terrified. To a species that grew their ships like gardens, the Horizon must look like a mountain of metal and weapons dropped into their space. Send the first contact package, Santos ordered, but modify it. Strip out all the technical specifications of our ship. Focus on our scientific mission, our desire for peaceful contact. As the message transmitted, the alien ship's light display changed. The patterns became more ordered, less chaotic. They were watching, waiting. We're receiving a response, Communications Officer Devi Patil announced. Converting now. A gentle, musical language filled the bridge, automatically translated by their systems. Unknown vessel, you enter the space of the Sylphian Collective. Your ship, it defies our understanding. Are you warriors? Santos stepped forward. This is Admiral Corina Santos of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. We are not warriors. We are explorers, scientists, seekers of knowledge. Our ship is built large to protect us from the dangers of deep space, not to threaten others. There was a pause then. Your vessel contains enough energy to power our entire fleet. Your hull is thick enough to withstand impacts that would shatter our largest ships. How can this be for peace? Santos smiled, an idea forming. Perhaps we could show you. Would you permit a small team from our ship to visit yours? We could explain our approach to space travel and learn about yours. Sometimes the best way to understand each other is to meet face to face. The light patterns on the alien ship shifted again. Slower now, more contemplative. Your willingness to send your people to our vessels. This suggests trust. We will accept, but we have conditions. Of course, Santos agreed. Name them. No active scans of our vessels. No powered weapons. And there was a pause. Please adjust the color of your hull lights. The red spectrum is distressing to us. Santos nodded to her crew, and within moments, the horizon's external lighting shifted to soft blues and greens. The effect was immediate. The Sylphian ship's light patterns became noticeably calmer. An ambassador team will prepare for departure, Santos said. We look forward to meeting you and learning from each other. As she watched the delicate alien ships approach, their hulls now glowing with curious patterns of welcome, Santos reflected on how first contact situations always came down to the same thing: understanding. The horizon might look like a warship to the Sylphians, but soon they would learn that humanity built big ships not out of aggression, but out of respect for the dangers of space. The real challenge and opportunity would be learning from each other's vastly different approaches to surviving among the stars. Dr. Yuki Tanaka adjusted her diplomatic uniform as she stood in the horizon's shuttle bay. As the ship's xenoanthropologist and designated cultural liaison, she'd studied hundreds of first contact scenarios, but nothing had prepared her for a species that grew their ships like living gardens. Remember, she said to her small team, the Sylphians' entire technology appears to be bioorganic. Try not to touch anything without permission. What we see as a wall or console might actually be alive. The diplomatic shuttle hummed to life, its conventional engines a stark contrast to the graceful Sylphian vessel they were approaching. Through the viewport, Yuki could see the alien ship's hull rippling with patterns of blue and green light, like sunlight through ocean waves. They're beautiful, Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez, their pilot, murmured. Hard to believe something so delicate could survive in deep space. As they drew closer, Yuki noticed something extraordinary. The Sylphian ship's docking bay wasn't opening. It was growing, unfurling like a flower blooming in fast motion. The crystalline petals formed a perfect berth for their shuttle. Their entire ship is responsive, Science Officer Diane O'Neill whispered, her sensors drinking in data. It's adapting to our presence in real time. The shuttle settled gently into the organic dock. The moment they touched down, bioluminescent patterns raced across the bay's walls, forming intricate webs of light. They're scanning us, Diane reported. But it's completely passive, more like they're feeling our presence than actively scanning. The airlock cycled, and Yuki got her first look at a Sylphian. The alien was tall and graceful, with translucent skin that pulsed with the same bioluminescent patterns as their ships. Multiple tendrils flowed from their head like hair made of light, each one shifting color independently. Welcome, the Sylphian's translator conveyed. I am first speaker Luminara. Your method of arrival is interesting, so mechanical. Yuki stepped forward, bowing slightly. Thank you for receiving us, first speaker. I'm Dr. Yuki Tanaka, cultural liaison for the Horizon. We're honored to learn about your people. As they walked through the Sylphian ship, Yuki struggled to process what she was seeing. The corridors seemed to breathe, walls shifting subtly to accommodate their movement. Every surface glowed with living light, creating an environment that felt more like walking through a bioluminescent coral reef than a spaceship. Your vessel, Luminara said, tendrils shifting to a questioning purple hue. Why do you build with dead materials? Metal and plastic cannot grow, cannot adapt, cannot heal. Our materials may not live, Yuki explained, but they're incredibly strong and reliable. Space is dangerous. Radiation, micrometeorites, extreme temperatures. We build our ships to withstand anything. The Sylphian's tendrils rippled with what Yuki was beginning to recognize as surprise. But our ships adapt to these dangers. When radiation levels rise, our hulls generate protective fields. When debris approaches, our outer layers become harder than diamond. They entered what appeared to be a control center, though it bore no resemblance to the Horizon's bridge. The room was circular, its walls alive with flowing patterns of light. In the center, several Sylphians stood with their tendrils intertwined with glowing strands that descended from the ceiling. "You interface directly with your ship," Diane breathed, understanding dawning. "It's not just biological. It's neural." Of course, Luminara's tendrils shifted to a proud gold. "The ship is an extension of ourselves. We grow together, learn together, adapt together." She paused, tendrils darkening slightly. "That is why your vessel frightens us. It is disconnected. How do you truly know its needs, its capabilities?" "Through technology," Yuki explained. "Our sensors, our computers, they're our way of connecting with our ship. Different from yours, but equally effective. Yet you build weapons into your vessel." Another Sylphian joined them, tendrils flickering with concern. "Those systems you're detecting," Marcus interjected, "most aren't weapons. They're defensive measures. Space debris hits with the force of bombs at our velocities. Solar flares can cook a crew in minutes. We build our ships like fortresses because space itself is dangerous." The Sylphians' tendrils began moving in complex patterns as they communicated among themselves. Finally, Luminara turned back to them. Perhaps we have judged too quickly. You build strong ships because you cannot grow them. You create defensive systems because you cannot adapt naturally. Different paths to the same destination. Survival among the stars." Yuki smiled. "Exactly. And that's why meetings like this are so valuable. We can learn from each other's approaches." "Yes." Luminara's tendrils glowed with a new color, a warm, welcoming amber. "Already we are curious about your materials science. And perhaps you would be interested in learning how we grow our ships." "We would be honored," Yuki said, meaning it. Knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied. As they continued their tour, Yuki noticed the Sylphians' bioluminescent patterns growing more relaxed, more varied. What had started as fear was transforming into scientific curiosity. The massive horizon might have initially appeared as a threat, but now it was becoming a symbol of different approaches to surviving in space. First contact was always a dance of understanding, Yuki reflected. Sometimes you just needed to find the right rhythm. Chief Engineer Hideki Nakamura stood in the Horizon's main engineering bay, watching as his Sylphian guests' tendrils flickered with what he'd learned was their equivalent of wide-eyed wonder. The massive fusion reactor core pulsed with contained power behind its transparent aluminum shields, casting a soft blue glow across the chamber. "Your power generation." Lead Engineer Aurelia of the Sylphians spoke, her tendrils shifting through shades of amazement and concern. "It's like containing a small star." "That's exactly what it is," Hideki confirmed, leading them along the elevated walkway. "We've learned to harness fusion power, similar to what powers the stars themselves. It gives us the energy we need for our defensive systems, life support, and propulsion." The small group of Sylphian engineers moved like a living light show through his engine room, their natural bioluminescence creating dancing patterns on the metal walls. Their own ships drew energy from what they called quantum photosynthesis, absorbing and processing energy directly from starlight. But the risk. Another Sylphian engineer named Celestis interjected, tendrils pulsing with worry. "If containment fails." "It won't," Hideki said firmly. "Here, let me show you something." He led them to a massive wall display, showing the reactor's containment systems. "We have 5 redundant magnetic containment fields. If any one fails, the others automatically compensate. If 3 fail, the reactor automatically shuts down. If all fail, which has never happened, the emergency systems would eject the core into space before any damage could occur." The Sylphians' tendrils moved in complex patterns as they communicated among themselves. Hideki had learned this was their way of processing new information collectively. "You plan for failure," Aurelia observed, her translator conveying the tone of revelation. "We grow our systems to prevent failure, but you assume it might happen and prepare for it." "Exactly," Hideki smiled. "In human engineering, we have a saying. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So we prepare for everything." He led them to the next section, where massive atmospheric processors hummed efficiently. These systems recycle our air, clean our water, and maintain perfect environmental conditions throughout the ship. Each one could handle the entire ship's needs alone. We have 4 of them. 4. Celestis's tendrils flashed with surprise. "But why so many?" "Redundancy," Hideki explained. "If one fails, we have 3 backups. On a deep space mission, we can't afford to take chances with life support." The tour continued through the labyrinth of engineering systems that kept the massive horizon functioning. At each stop, Hideki noticed the Sylphians' initial alarm at the scale and power of human technology, gradually transforming into understanding and even admiration. They paused at the ship's structural integrity field generators, massive devices that helped the horizon withstand the stresses of space travel. "These fields reinforce our hull," Hideki explained. "They can adapt to different types of stress: compression, tension, torsion. Like our adaptive hull membranes," Aurelia noted, tendrils glowing with interest. "Though we achieve it through biological means, the principle is similar." "That's what I've noticed," Hideki said thoughtfully. "Our methods are different, but we're solving the same problems. Space doesn't care if you're using biology or technology. It's just as deadly either way." They reached the final stop on their tour, the Damage Control Center. Holographic displays showed the status of every system on the ship, with repair crews and automated drones ready to respond to any emergency. "This is how we heal our ship," Hideki explained. "We can't grow new hull plates or regenerate damaged systems like your vessels, so we maintain an enormous inventory of spare parts and repair capabilities." Aurelia moved closer to one of the displays, her tendrils now glowing with a color Hideki hadn't seen before: a deep, thoughtful gold. "Your ship, it's not just big for the sake of being big. Every system, every space serves a purpose. It's all about survival." "That's right," Hideki nodded. "The Horizon isn't a warship. It's a life ship. Everything about it is designed to keep its crew alive in one of the most hostile environments imaginable." "We may have judged too quickly," Celestis admitted, tendrils shifting to apologetic blue. "When we first saw your vessel, we saw only its power, its size, its potential for destruction. Now we see its true purpose: protection." "Perhaps," Aurelia added, her tendrils brightening, "there are things we could learn from each other. Your redundancy systems, they could be adapted to our bioorganic technology. And maybe our regenerative hull materials could be useful for your repair systems." Hideki smiled broadly. "That's why we're out here, to learn and share knowledge. Different approaches to engineering don't make either of us wrong. They just give us more options for solving problems." As they made their way back to the shuttle bay, Hideki noticed the Sylphians were no longer shying away from the Horizon's massive systems. Instead, their tendrils were active with excited discussion, sharing ideas and observations among themselves. The fear of the unknown was being replaced by something far more powerful: scientific curiosity. And in that transformation, Hideki saw the true purpose of their mission among the stars: not just to explore, but to understand and be understood. 1 month after the solar storm incident, the U.S. Horizon's main conference room hosted an unprecedented gathering. Human engineers and Sylphian bioarchitects sat side by side, their work displayed on the massive screens surrounding them. The room thrummed with excited energy as 2 vastly different approaches to space travel began to merge into something new. Admiral Santos watched as Chief Engineer Nakamura demonstrated their latest joint project, a hybrid shield system that combined human power generation with Sylphian adaptive principles. By integrating bioorganic sensor nodes into our traditional shield grid, Nakamura explained, his hands moving animatedly, we've created a protective field that can actually learn and adapt to new threats in real time. First speaker Luminara's tendrils pulsed with approval as she studied the technical data. And our ship's hulls have been successfully modified to incorporate your redundancy principles. We now grow backup systems, something we never considered before. The transformation in their relationship had been remarkable. What started as fear had blossomed into one of the most productive technological exchanges in human space exploration history. The real breakthrough, Science Officer Volkov added, pulling up new data, is in the communication systems. By adapting Sylphian bioluminescent technology, we've developed a way to transmit data through light patterns that's faster and more secure than traditional methods. The walls of the conference room demonstrated this new technology, shifting with waves of coded light that both species could now read intuitively. The horizon itself had been modified, its once threatening external lighting now capable of expressing meaning in ways that the Sylphians naturally understood. But more important than the technological advances, Santos said, standing to address the gathered teams, is what we've learned about each other. Our differences aren't weaknesses, they're opportunities. Luminara moved to stand beside her, tendrils glowing with a warm golden light that humans now recognize as friendship. Indeed, we feared your massive ships, your powerful engines, your redundant systems. We saw them as signs of aggression rather than what they truly were, different solutions to the same challenges we all face among the stars. And we've learned so much from your bioorganic technology, Nakamura added. The way your ships adapt and heal. It's revolutionizing our approach to space engineering. The screen behind them showed their newest joint project, a prototype vessel that combined the best of both worlds. It had the size and power of a human ship, but incorporated Sylphian bioorganic systems. Its hull could both withstand tremendous impact and heal itself. Its shields could both project overwhelming force and adapt to new threats. The Concordia, Santos said, gesturing to the design. The first of what we hope will be many joint ventures between our peoples. A ship of peace, Luminara agreed, her tendrils rippling with pride, built with the strength of humanity and the adaptability of the Sylphians. As the meeting continued, Santos reflected on how far they'd come. The horizon, once seen as a terrifying weapon of war, had become a symbol of protection and cooperation. The Sylphians, once fearful of human technology, were now eager partners in pushing the boundaries of what was possible in space travel. There will be other species out there, Luminara said quietly to Santos as they watched their teams work together. Some may fear us as we once feared you, and we'll face them together, Santos replied. Show them what can be achieved when different approaches work in harmony rather than opposition. The horizon's lights pulsed with a pattern that meant hope in the Sylphian language, answered by the assembled Sylphian ships outside. Their once feared warship now served as a bridge between cultures, a testament to the power of understanding and cooperation. As Santos looked out at the combined fleet, she saw not just ships but the future, one where the strengths of different species complemented each other, where fear gave way to friendship, and where the challenges of space were met with the combined ingenuity of all. The stars had brought them together. Fear had almost driven them apart, but understanding had forged them into something stronger than either could have been alone. And as they prepared to venture deeper into space together, both humans and Sylphians knew that their greatest discoveries still lay ahead, not just in technology or biology, but in the endless possibilities that arose when different peoples learned to work as one. Above them, the eternal stars twinkled with promise, witnesses to a new chapter in the story of space exploration, one written not in fear, but in hope and harmony.